Well, thanks, Graham. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Henrik Riefke. I'm the course director for both the MScs that we're hopefully interested in. So we have the MSc in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, of course, and the MSc in Procurement and Supply Chain Management. It's just great that we get to see you here. So I see a few faces, not too many, but it's of course nice if you have the camera on for some interaction. So what I'm going to do is just run you through the program, about 20 minutes or so. I think it will take, and then we can go into sort of question and answering. I also have some colleagues here. So I have the deputy director for the MSc in Logistics and Supply Chain Management, which is Yannis Koliosis. So he's here as well. Good morning, everyone. And I think he will help me at the end to answer all your questions. So I think, Graham, the idea is when people have questions, they just pop it in the chat, and we'll try and go through as many as possible.
That's correct. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, let's not waste time then. And let me get started. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, we've got that.
Good. So, yes, so as I already said, this is my name, Henrik. You will see me if you make the choice to come here to Cranfield. You would, of course, see a fair amount of me. And yeah, very much looking forward to meeting you if you do so. So let me run you through the program. We start with a short overview of Cranfield University, actually. So basically who we are. We are a postgraduate only university. We have several schools that are specializing on science, technology, engineering, and we are, of course, here in the School of Management. Our School of Management is one of an elite group of schools worldwide. I believe it's only about 1% of business schools worldwide that hold the triple accreditation of EQUIS, AACSB, and AMBER. We are very much proud to be a School of Management which is strongly connected to industry and well, various companies, and also our MSc program very much connects you, or will connect you, to industry as well. So we will get into that a little bit later. Of course, our courses are highly ranked. You probably have seen our latest rankings. For example, in the QS rankings, our supply chain management course was ranked there. And our Cranfield ethos very much then is to transform knowledge into action. So what we aim to do here at Cranfield, and especially in our MSc in supply, or MSc programs in supply chain management, is to give you all the tools that you need in order to then start a successful career. Supply chain management very much is a practical, very operational discipline, right? So we go through all the theories, the tools, methods, concepts, newest trends, developments that we see in supply chain management. But then when you go away from Cranfield, we very much want you to be able to apply this immediately in whatever career path you are choosing. All right, so this is why we say, okay, we give you the tools, and then you transform this knowledge into action in your future career. All right, so that's the idea. Let's now come to a bit narrower to our supply chain community within the School of Management. So we are Europe's largest group of faculty specializing in logistics, procurement, and supply chain management. Really, we have been at the forefront of supply chain knowledge development for decades now. And also, you probably know various famous names that have come out of Cranfield University, such as Professor Martin Christopher, for example, really one of the sort of key foundational scholars in the area of supply chain management. A few other famous names currently are Professor Richard Wilding, for example, who is currently in our faculty, and various others, of course. Of course, we don't just teach graduate program. So you are looking at an award-bearing program for an MSc degree. This is not all that we do. However, we also specialize in executive and customized programs. So those would be programs that are specialized for a particular company context. And all the faculty members essentially teach also on such programs. And this is really excellent because it brings us as faculty members closer to industry. So we actually work closely with those companies in those customized programs, and then in turn we can also bring those insights that we get into those industry or those industry partners companies that we work with. We can bring that back into the MSc degree as well and use that in the classroom as well. So so you can check us out, of course, on the website. You can see all the faculty members and what they're specializing in. So I would say go and have a look at that as well. Now, even narrower now towards the MSc degree that you are interested in. So we have two full-time supply chain management MScs, the logistics and the procurement specialization. You can see on the right-hand side, all of those programs, those two programs are accredited by those organizations. So we have CILT, CIPS, and also the ELA, the European Logistics Association accreditation. What that means is once you have finished your degree with us, your MSc qualification, you can then apply for membership status at CILT and CIPS as well. Starting with the logistics and supply chain management MSc, this is what I would call our flagship program, really established for, well, close to 40 years now. And yeah, it went through some changes, of course, in terms of naming throughout these years, but essentially this has been our flagship program for quite a long time. In 2016, we also launched the procurement and supply chain management MSc, very much with the aim to target people who know, okay, we want to get into a procurement sourcing related function within the supply chain, and a more targeted MSc would be of value for these people. So hence we introduced this in 2016 and it has become very popular. Now, both of those MScs, of course, are not static programs. We constantly improve them. They are evolving based on recent developments in supply chain management, and supply chain management is a very, very dynamic area. And I guess this is also one of the reasons, one of the motivations why all of you want to get into this particular area. So we are designing, reviewing our program with senior logistics and supply chain professionals so that we're always up to date and that we update our material accordingly. All right, so I already basically mentioned what our main aim is: to develop you as logistics, procurement, supply chain professional, and that you can take the skills that we teach you here directly into the workplace. Now, one important thing I would like to mention, and this is really great, I think, for students here within our supply chain management degrees, you can actually switch between the logistics and supply chain management MSc and the procurement MSc within the first few months of starting the program. Okay, so in the first term, the two programs run very much in parallel, and you'll see that in a minute when I go into a little bit more detail there. So they run very much in parallel, so you're doing the same core modules in both programs. Now, what that means is that if you are enrolled, for example, on the logistics side, okay, and within the first 2 months at Cranfield, you realize, okay, I'm actually really, really interested in the procurement side, and I would like to learn more on the procurement and would like to have an MSc that is specializing in procurement, then you can switch from one MSc to the other. So that gives you that flexibility that you don't have to decide immediately, right? So you can get used to some of the material here, you know, start some of the modules, talk to the faculty, and make up your mind ultimately which direction you want to go with. So I think it's really one of the key strengths also of our two programs here. Now, let me now explain very quickly and roughly, of course, there's more to it, but let me explain the structure of the MSc. So in order to graduate with the MSc qualification, you will need 200 credits overall. Okay, now those are made up of core modules, elective modules, as well as a research-based thesis at the end. Okay, so all core modules carry 10 credits, electives carry 5 credits, and the MSc research thesis carries 80 credits overall. So that's 40% of your overall degree, okay, is allocated to the MSc thesis. Now, you will be taking 10 core modules. 8 of those are actually the same in logistics and procurement, okay, and 2 core modules are different. So you can see here sort of the core modules which are actually the same. So supply chain strategy, sustainability, principles of strategic procurement, accounting. You have management science techniques, freight transport, inventory management, operations management, information systems, project management. So these are all, I think, just by reading them, you can tell those are very much fundamental, foundational pieces of supply chain management, and hence they are the same across the 2 MScs. And then you have differentiation here on the core module side. On the top, we see physical network design and warehousing. Those are very much logistics focused. Okay, so those are unique to the MSc in logistics and supply chain management. And then you have supplier selection and evaluation, as well as negotiation and contract management. And those are very much, of course, procurement focused. And hence, if you do take the procurement MSc, you'd be taking those core modules. Okay, so those are the core modules. There's no avoiding them. So if you join us, then you definitely have to take them. Have a look. I can pop that into this link, or maybe Graham or Jonas can do that. Pop that link into the chat. This is one activity that we do here. It's called a just-in-time simulation. So the video is available on YouTube. And we're not going to watch it here, but I very much encourage you, of course, to watch that on your own time, just after the webinar. Or you can watch it as often, as many times as you like, really. Okay, so we pop that into the chat. So this is the just-in-time simulation is part of one of our core modules. Now, then you come in term 2, so this would be after Christmas, so starting in January, okay, you'd be starting with electives. Now we have a lot of electives to choose from, 15 overall. You don't have to take all of them, so there's a positive thing, a positive note to this, and then maybe an issue, because you don't have to take 15, you only have to take 4. The problem is you have to actually make a selection, okay? So you have to ultimately choose 4 out of those 15, and sometimes, you know, like you may struggle to choose which ones are right for you, but we of course here to guide you in that decision making. Now you can see the electives, of course, a lot more specialized than the core modules are, and this is really to cater for your unique interest. For example, if you are very much interested in procurement, then you're probably looking at the elective future of digital procurement, or also logistics outsourcing, or business process outsourcing, right? So those are very much towards the sourcing side of the supply chain. Now, if you are, for example, rather interested in sustainability, for example, then probably the electives of circular supply chains, as well as maybe social network analysis in a supply chain network context, maybe those 2 electives would very much appeal to you. If you're looking at the distribution and retail side of a supply chain, if this is what you want to specialize in, then you're probably looking at retail logistics and maybe sales and operations planning as electives for you. Maybe you are interested in humanitarian work, so we're actually very proud that we have even electives in this area. So we have the humanitarian logistics, for example, as an option here for you. Okay, and then of course various others. You can see some of the others are probably useful for anyone. Things such as big data analytics or designing, managing resilient supply chains, especially in the current climate, right? Pandemic issues. Having a resilient supply chain is probably more important than ever. Okay, so these are all the electives. You can check them on the website and read up on them. And of course, we will guide you if you come do the MSc here. We will guide you in the selection process. You don't have to make this decision before you start with us. Okay, you will do the first couple of weeks, months with us, and then you have to make a selection which ones you want to choose. Okay, another example here. So there's a couple videos actually about our electives as well that you can watch on YouTube. This one here is on the humanitarian logistics side. So I encourage you to watch this one and we'll pop that link into the chat as well. But of course, as I said, there are others to choose from as well. Now, apart from the content that we deliver, I think if I had to break down the MSc degree, the two main pillars, the strengths of doing the MSc with us. On one side is, of course, the content. We have specialists in various different areas. For example, I teach the warehousing module. Yannis is very much a specialist in freight transport, for example. And so we have specialists in different areas, and hence a lot of knowledge that we can teach you in all these different modules. So this is one of the main building blocks, I would say, of the MSc. But on the other hand, it's also the whole, let's say, the whole cultural aspect, the social aspect that makes our master's programs quite special. So you'll be joining a large cohort of students, and in fact, this year we actually have over 200 students in our two MSc programs, our two full-time MSc programs. So you'll be joining this large cohort of people. You'll be part of this cross-cultural group. I mean, so there's tens of different nationalities, various cultures. So very exciting actually to get to be part of that group of like-minded people, I would say. So we be throwing you into that group for cross-cultural awareness. Of course, the same actually goes with our faculty members. Okay, so we are all from different international, really, from different countries as well. So of course we have quite a few people from the UK, but then we have people like myself. I'm originally from Germany. Yannis, for example, here is from Greece, right? So very much a cross-cultural group, and you'll be exposed to these various different cultures as well. Now, then you'll be working together in groups. So we very much encourage you to develop your team working skills. You'll be presenting your group work to us and discussing things in class. So very much also you'll be fine-tuning your consultancy skills, communication skills. All these aspects are very important to us. And of course, we are also still very proud that we can actually have what we call a relatively open door policy, right? So you can always, we always welcome you to knock on our doors and say, okay, I have a problem with something, or I would like to discuss something, or I'd just like to know more about a particular topic. So you can then ask individual faculty members for advice in that regard, for example. Of course, another thing I would like to emphasize, this is a mature learning environment. Okay, so this is postgraduate only. This is all we do. We don't have any undergraduate students. Okay, so you need to also become part of this mature learning environment. So ultimately, you are responsible for your own learning. We support you as much as we can. But yeah, so you also have to do the work and seek information, seek advice if necessary. Okay. Then a couple extra activities that we do. So we do, for example, a study tour where we go in smaller groups, usually around 20 to 25 students, plus 2 faculty members or 2 staff members, and we go to a particular destination. In the past, we have always done this across Europe, so you can see some previous tours here, which included Austria, Belgium, Germany, Malta, Poland, the Netherlands, Spain, and others actually over the years. Now this year, due to the restrictions, the corona restrictions, we are actually doing study tours in the UK only, but that doesn't mean that they're any less exciting, because the UK is a very exciting place with a lot of very interesting logistics and supply chain issues to study. So we're actually doing the study tours this year in the UK only, and this next year, years to come, we have to see. We just have to adapt to the restrictions, of course, that we have. Regardless of where we go, the idea is, of course, that we gain first-hand experience and a rich understanding of how, certain supply chain strategies, practices are utilized, how they influence operations in a particular area, in a particular industry, and this is really what we want to explore in those study tours. And I would encourage you to read our study tour blogs. So on our MSc course page, you can actually access the student blogs. You can see this here. So students are writing about their experiences with us. Actually, you cannot just read the ones about the supply chain management MScs, but also various other MScs. But of course, check out the ones from supply chain management. So those are not written by Cranfield staff members. Those are written by former students. And so hence you can really check out what they had to say about their experience. And you can see some activities here, for example, study tour to Vienna, or the Poland study tour, or also some warehouse visits that we've done. For example, here we went to the Saint-Gobain warehouse visit, for example. So various different contributions that you can check out there. Yeah, this is the warehouse visit. So we are lucky in Cranfield that we are located quite centrally within the UK. So we're very close to London, of course. So, but then a little bit further north, look at a little bit further north from London. So we are basically on the connecting roads towards Manchester, Birmingham, and towards the north of the UK. And hence we are surrounded, literally surrounded by warehouses, distribution centers. And we very much like to take advantage of that and take you to warehouse visits if we can. And you can see some of the ones here that we have done in the past, including retailers such as John Lewis, River Island, food retail, large supermarket in the UK called Sainsbury. Also, we have been to other warehouses like the Adidas Fulfillment Center, which is also around the corner here. There's a brand new H&M Fulfillment Center here. There's 2 Amazon Fulfillment Centers just around the corner. So yeah, we are basically at the heart of logistics here at Cranfield. Okay, so again, check that out on our blogs. Now, I think Alexis will also talk a little bit about that, about the career prospects after finishing here. So just, I don't want to read out what's on the slide. You can see the companies basically that students have gone away from Cranfield and have started working with those companies. This is just a small selection. The key thing that I want to point out is that it's really not restricted to a certain industry or a certain sector, right? So you can see here, people have gone into companies, everything from food and beverage industry to energy, to fashion, to retail, to manufacturing, third-party logistics providers, really the whole range. Every company does something with supply chain management. And I think this is what makes this such an exciting area, and also great career prospects. And you can see on the right-hand side in the middle there also different roles that people have getting into, everything really from consultancy to analyst roles. Of course, we have the various managerial tasks that you see in a supply chain: operations management, procurement management, purchasing management, supply and demand planning. Yeah, you name it. Also, people have gone into humanitarian areas. Everything, of course, up to you where you want to get into. Okay, class profile. So this is from last year, actually, the cohort 2020-2021. So you can see a fairly even split, male, female, age range as well. So we have people coming straight out of their undergraduate degrees, but also more experienced people. Average age somewhere in sort of the mid to late 20s, usually. Number of nationalities. Now, last year we were impacted by COVID, so actually we had 14 nationalities, but in the past we had well over 20, close to 30 nationalities at times. So, so yeah, very international group. And you can also check out those stats on our website. Now, the cohort size in that year was 169 students overall. And then there's this average class size of 43. So what we do, we generally teach in smaller groups. Okay, so even though we are a very large group overall, we generally teach in smaller streams. Okay, so we divide up this big cohort into smaller groups. And you can see this here just as an example, what this might look like. Now, this is quite complex, but this is actually the timetable from this year. Okay, so the 2021-2022 timetable. And you can see we have 4 streams starting in week 1, Monday, the 4th of October. So we have a red, a green, yellow, and a blue stream, right? And this is what I meant, like the majority of sessions are actually delivered within those smaller streams. And you can see sort of the times, you know, always 2-hour blocks that we're working in. On Tuesday, 5th of October, you can see sort of certain sessions that are actually delivered to the entire cohort, right? So we have supply chain strategy and sustainability. The first 2 sessions were delivered to the entire cohort, and then we split that again up into streams. You can see certain sessions that we also schedule here, for example, a careers intro, where our Cranfield Career Service talks to you and tells you all about their services. In week 2, Monday 11th, there our colleague Abhijit Gaji, he actually had a guest lecture that he organized. So there was an industry speaker coming to talk to the cohort, and that was done online for the entire group. All right, you can also see then on, for example, Friday, the 15th of October, we had an elective and study tour talk. So this is where I informed the cohort about their elective options and the study tour plans and so forth. All right, so this is just an example of how this would work here. This is it from me. So really looking forward to meeting you, and of course, looking forward to your questions that you may have. These are our websites, so please make sure to check them out. A lot of information on there. And of course, the procurement side as well. And of course, get in touch if you need anything else from us. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Hendrik. Yeah, I've got one question that's come in so far from Paul. So just a reminder to everybody else, if you've got any questions, please do feel free to put those into the chat, and then we'll come to those questions either now or towards the end. But the question from Paul, Hendrik, is, are there any particular mathematical knowledge requirements for either of the courses?
Well, nothing as such in particular. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say there's nothing mathematical happening here, because of course we do calculations, we do management science techniques, we have analytical techniques, and of course operations management generally that does of course involve certain calculations, some mathematics. Now, I would say this is nothing to be afraid of. We start with the basic building blocks, okay, and then we work our way forwards towards a proper understanding of why we are using those techniques. Now, some people struggle with them more than others, okay, but generally we try, of course, and generally all people get through it. So there's nothing to be afraid of. But of course, if you feel you have a certain like some requirement to catch up on some math skills, we also offer some aspects in that regard.
Thanks, Hendrik. So we've got a few questions coming in now. Could you just briefly explain the difference between the logistics course and the procurement course, please?
Okay, yeah, so they are very much aligned. I mean, when you go, and I think I did that in my presentation, you have the majority of the core modules. So 8 out of the 10 core modules that you'd be taking are actually the same, because at their heart, they're both supply chain management MScs. So of course, if you go into the business world, you need to know all the foundational building blocks of the supply chain. So this is the fundamental information or topics that we have to get through in those core modules. Then you have 2 core modules that are distinct within the logistics or the procurement side. So for example, you have the warehousing and the physical network design on the logistics side, and you have the supplier selection, evaluation and negotiation, contract management on the procurement side. Then further, as I already said, on the electives, you can choose whatever you like, but of course there are certain electives which are very much catering more towards the procurement side. For example, future of digital procurement, business process outsourcing, logistics outsourcing. Those are very much leaning towards the procurement sourcing side, whereas the certain other topics are more leaning towards the logistics focus. But this is up to you then to make that decision. And ultimately, I think you just have to decide as well, when you go away from here with your degree, what would you benefit more from? If you're planning to get into a procurement related role, yeah, maybe the procurement and supply chain management MSc, just having that qualification carries a little bit more weight for you. Now, I would also like to say though, regardless of which MSc you ultimately get, I think there's nobody stopping you. So if you are on the logistics and supply chain management side, it's still a supply chain degree. You have done procurement related modules, so you can still apply for procurement roles. Okay, so this is not a exclusive. Just because it doesn't say procurement in the MSc name doesn't mean that you can't apply for procurement roles. And many of our former students happily work in procurement, and even though they have done the logistics and supply chain management MSc. I hope that explains it.
Yeah, thanks. So another question here is, when it comes to choosing topics around the thesis, is there a kind of a level of priority? So for example, if someone, if two students chose the same topic, is there a way in which that kind of decision gets made about who gets to follow that topic and take it forward?
Okay, I mean, it's actually, and probably Janis also wants to comment on this, because he's very much looking into our company-based thesis. So we have 3 main options for the thesis research project. So we have company-based theses, we have what we call Cranfield-led thesis. So those are more research, sort of desk-based, research-based thesis projects. And then we have student-led research projects as well, where you as a student would say, okay, I would like to define my own research project. Of course, we will work with you to define it. It has to be within the boundaries of, of supply chain management. It has to be applicable. It has to be a feasible research project. But if you, for example, say, hey, I have a family business, I would like to do some research within my family business. Hey, we are more than happy to support you if that's what you want to do. Or if you say, I would like to study something in particular. For example, I remember a few years back, maybe 3-4 years ago now, back, a student who was in consulting in Australia, actually. So she said, I want to go study blockchain technology, because she knew she wanted to go back into consulting and become sort of a group leader on blockchain technology in the supply chain. So she then, studied that in particular. So she had her student-led project. But yeah, so they're all individual projects. Okay, so that doesn't mean that some of the topics can't be closely aligned. They can be quite similar, but ultimately they're all individual projects, and we will provide a fair amount of projects ourselves. So we actually prepare them, and you can then freely choose from them. However, of course, it doesn't mean that you get your first choice necessarily. I guess that was the question. Whether everybody gets the first choice. Well, the answer to that is no, not everybody can have the first choice, but there's going to be so many topics to choose from. And generally, when I go back into the previous years, basically everybody got a choice within their top 3 to 4 options. And if you get to choose out of 400 topics and you get one of the top 4, I think those are pretty good odds. But Yannis, you may want to say something about company-based ones.
Yes, thanks, Hendrik. Actually, as you said, we do have a number of different projects and different theses that the students can actually choose from. When it comes to company projects per se, we do have companies that are within our immediate reach and within the network of the program that every year submit problems that they have, and we help them with this project. So this is one of the approaches that we're using. Equally, some companies wish to elevate that into a short-term internship project where the student is now based within the company premises. And said that, going back to the original question, what you will be selecting and how you can select that from, usually there is a prioritization. Each student prioritizes the top 3 projects that they wish to be involved in. And then we do have a transparent algorithm which assigns students to the projects so that everyone is happy at the end of the day. Now, said that, trust me on this one, there will be so many interesting projects for you to select from that you will be happy with any of these 3 selections that you're going to be making and you will be assigned to.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Janice. Thanks, Hendrik. So I think what we'll do now, we will try and get back to a few more questions towards the end of the session, if that's okay. We'll bring Alexis in now so she can talk about the careers section.
Thanks very much, Graham. Right, I'm just going to share my screen. Give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Excellent. Okay, so my name is Alexis Drake, and I'm the Marketing, Data and Communications Manager in the Career Development Service. So your career is something that's going to obviously really be at the top of your priority list in order to get a great job that uses your Cranfield qualification once you graduate. So on this slide, you can see a number of activities that we're involved in with you throughout your academic year. I'll start at one-to-one coaching, because this is the thing that really our students tell us is the most important aspect of our service. You get to meet with a career development manager who's highly trained in the areas of HR and in employer relations and training as well. And you can speak to these coaches about anything to do with your career aspirations and really get excellent personalized advice on how you can progress your own career campaign. So we also run a large number of workshops. Some of them are subject specific. A lot of them are interactive in the classroom. And of course, a great many are now delivered virtually due to the pandemic situation. But we are beginning to actually deliver these in a face-to-face COVID secure way as well. We also have a large network of external professionals who we bring in to talk to you about very specific topics, such as perhaps networking or elevator pitch training. So you can be assured that you leave Cranfield armed with all of the skills you need to really make your way in the world. One of my roles is actually to create learning assets. So we have a number of video tutorials, podcasts for you to listen to. We also have reading materials, our learning packs. So whatever your learner style might be, whether you're theoretical and like to read a lot of things, or whether you're more of an activist and like to take part in things, we've got something for you. Now, in terms of our technology, we have VMOC, which is a 24/7 CV critiquing system. It also helps to optimize your LinkedIn profile because, of course, so much recruitment happens now through LinkedIn in what's called the hidden jobs market. So VMOC really helps you to become the best version of yourself, both on CV and on LinkedIn. We also make this available to students once you are an offer holder at Cranfield. So you don't have to wait until October to start all of this. We will actually engage with you from next summer. So after my little speech, I will give you our QR codes so that you can link up with us on social media and start getting involved even before you land with us at Cranfield. So moving on, our subscription resources. We pay for these so that you don't have to. These are fantastic so that you can research potential career opportunities, so that you can look into organizations and what they're dealing with and what kind of industry news they might be involved in. And these really help in terms of putting together a very bespoke and intelligent cover letter, and also have excellent things to talk about in your interview. We always want you to stand out at interview, and one of the ways you can do this is to come fully armed with all the knowledge you have on a particular company. Simplicity, that is our very powerful CRM. And here you can upload your CV, your cover letters, your academic profile, and actually get discovered by recruiters who are on the system too. Simplicity also acts as an event RSVP system. So all of our workshops, all of our one-to-one coaching sessions, mentoring sessions, all of that can be booked on Simplicity as well. The other thing it does is that it's a live job vacancy database. So if you spot something that you're interested in, you can apply to it directly through Simplicity. So it really does cut out a lot of time in terms of you having to go to multiple different platforms. So employer engagement, that is a micro team within the Career Development Service, and they work tirelessly to bring together employers with interested Cranfield students to promote job opportunities, to create events such as evening presentations and workshops, networking events and symposiums. And this small but powerful team really will put in front of you lots of different opportunities throughout the year for you to consider. One of the things that we're involved in as well is careers fairs. So typically we have several of these throughout the year, and they're now theme specific. We've done these virtually, of course, in the last couple of years or so, but we have plans to make some of them face-to-face in a secure way. And this is a great chance for you to network with potential employers, ask them questions that you might not be able to do in a digital way, and really get a feel for how their recruitment processes might look like. The last thing I want to mention is our mentoring scheme. So this is quite new to Cranfield, but already seeing a lot of success. And this brings together a suite of mentoring people that we have, whether that's Cranfield alumni or other people in industry, and really helping our students to connect with them, to find out what it's like to work in their industry, to get lots of useful information, and to essentially help them on their career path. So in a moment, I'm just going to stop sharing this and I'll have a little chat with you about some stats that you might be interested in. So bear with me one moment. So I've pulled out some statistics just for you today because one of my roles is dealing with the Graduate Outcomes Survey. It's a large national survey that's asked every year. We actually have data from the last 2 years now relating to students who finished their studies between summer 2017 and summer 2019. So I can tell you that the average School of Management MSc graduate earned £41,333 a year. That is removing our MBA cohorts who tend to be a lot more experienced in their field, but it gives you an idea. So the Centre for Demand Chain Management graduates went on to work at some of the companies that Hendrik has mentioned. In addition to those, we have PepsiCo, Chanel, Pfizer, British American Tobacco, Nike, Unilever, Wix, which is a UK-based construction supply store, and Kingfisher. Now, in terms of some numbers here, 96% of our graduates were in work, studying, or doing something else like travelling and volunteering 15 months after graduating, which is when the survey is asked. 36% were working in the UK, 64% were working outside of the UK, Now, one that I really love is that 68% said that their new job fitted into their career plan and was exactly the type of work they wanted. So for you thinking about Cranfield and in terms of progressing your own career, that's a really interesting one to note. 36% said that their Cranfield qualification gave them a distinct advantage in the selection process. So again, that's a really useful one to know. The sort of quality and how people view the Cranfield qualification is very high in this area. So the figures do serve as guidance only because the survey doesn't ask the entire cohorts from both years. So it's really just to give you a flavour of what can be achieved with this Cranfield qualification. So if you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat. I'll put our web pages in there so prospective students can actually start downloading some of our materials already and start getting prepared ahead of time. And I'll put in our social media QR codes so you can follow us and see all the activities that we're involved in. So that is it from me.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you. So yeah, as Alexis said, any questions in the chat, please, that'd be great. Well, we'll go back to Q&A now, if that's okay, Hendrik, and we'll try and cover some of them. We've got quite a few questions in the chat, so I'm not sure how kind of swiftly we can get through some of them, but I'll leave that to you to decide how easy they are to answer in that way. So there's quite a few questions about scholarships and how people would find out what scholarships are available for the programs.
Okay, so best point of call would be the admissions office. They can tell you about different scholarship options. Now, for certain nationalities, there are also sometimes scholarship options that are unique for that country. You know, we recently had quite a few. You can also find them on our website. Scholarship options for example, South America, for the Middle East. So those are unique to certain countries. So definitely ask the admissions office. We have some small bursaries also that we give out as a program. Okay, so those are on an individual basis. But yeah, get the information from the admissions office ideally, because they can tell you exactly which scholarships you can apply for.
Brilliant, thank you. There's a question here that says that you mentioned that students can transfer from procurement to logistics. Can they do it the other way around?
Yes, so it can be from logistics to procurement or from procurement and logistics. However, you have to make that decision before we start term 2, because this is when we then embark on the differences, right, on the different core modules and so on. So yeah, you can switch. Either direction is fine, but yeah, at some stage you have to make the decision. So we will let you know when that is.
Brilliant, thank you. There's another question here asking if students are able to potentially take up a PhD after they complete the master's course.
Yes, so this is a MSc degree with a research component. So we do a research-based, it's the thesis essentially, and that then also, so having the MSc qualification qualifies you to take up a doctoral degree here at Cranfield or also other institutions in the UK or internationally, of course.
A question now about how many hours are involved in each module, and somebody just saying it seems like there's quite a lot of modules essentially, so just wondering how many hours do they devote to each one?
Yeah, good question. So generally, I mean, first of all, we do put a lot of material into this 1 year. So this is not, I wouldn't say this is an easy MSc. You have to work quite hard to get through all the material. Okay, so I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but the idea of course, to learn about supply chain management, and in this 1 year, like our MSc degree, we managed to squeeze all this material into 1 year, so that you are basically getting out of this studying fairly quickly again, and then start your or go back into your career, building your career. So that's the idea, why we have everything within a rather short time of 1 year. Now, each module carries, in addition to the lecture material, you will be given some reading, material preparation, potentially case studies that you should be doing before class. Maybe you have to prepare a presentation that you need to show in class. So various different aspects. And then, of course, you have for each module, you also have an assessment associated with that. So yeah, so there's a fair amount of additional things to do apart from just attending the lectures. Now, saying that, the easiest way though to get through it all is attend the lectures. This is like, you know, if you do that and you do the reading within the time that you're given for it, then usually people have no major issues with the assessments. Issues start when things are being pushed back, right? When the work isn't done on time, and then of course people struggle with, for example, the assessment at the end of the module. Then the assessments are, for the majority, are reports, either individual or group reports. We currently only have one exam that's on the accounting and finance.
Hendrik. There's a question, well, there's a general question, I suppose, here about the entry requirements, essentially, and whether people need to have specific knowledge to get on the course.
Oh, very good question. So, I mean, the entry requirements, again, of course, you can get from the admissions office. I mean, so those are your academic credentials, your experience and so forth. So they can advise you on that. But I think the question primarily goes into the direction whether you need a supply chain management, transport, procurement related, logistics related a previous qualification in order to do our MSc here. And the answer to that is not necessarily. Now, it will be easier, of course, if you have a previous, let's say, a bachelor's degree in transport management or so on. Of course, then some of the concepts you will already be familiar with. But ultimately, we have people from various different origins. So we get a lot of people from engineering, for example, with an engineering background. They fit in very well with supply chain management, sort of with this analytical mindset. But generally, an MSc degree, a postgraduate qualification, really is an opportunity also for some people to branch out into something new. Maybe you studied tourism, okay, and then you worked, however, for several years in a procurement related role, and you really want that supply chain related qualification now to further to go ahead in your career. So this is absolutely no issue as such. Of course, it is easier if you have supply chain management knowledge already. Of course, it is easier then, but it's not a prerequisite.
Thanks. There's a question here that asks, what's the process of obtaining MCIPS through the degree?
Or the MScs, yeah. So you can, once you have the master's qualification, our programs, both programs are accredited by SIPS. So then you can apply for MScs membership. This is, of course, you have to look at the different countries that you may, you know, if you apply in your own home country, you would need to apply there. But our degree is certified so that you can then just, you know, apply upon graduation, essentially, once you have the master's degree.
Thank you. There's a question around the study tour and just asking really why it's optional. Somebody's asking, it's obviously feels like it's a core component of the course, but just interested to know why it would be optional.
Couldn't agree more that it's a great additional learning that we get out of those study tours. They're just not part. There are no credits associated with them. Okay, so hence they are not compulsory to attend, but I would say that 90+% of students generally do take advantage of this opportunity, of course, of the study tours. So they're not compulsory, they don't carry any learning credits, teaching credits, or what are they called? Yeah, credits. But regardless, I would very much recommend that everybody goes on the study tour.
And a question here now about experience, levels of experience. So would you feel the course is still beneficial for somebody who's got professional experience of around 15 years?
Yeah, well, very much so. So the thing is, of course, at Cranfield, you have various options what you want to look at. So we also have an executive version of this very MSc degree. So there we have this is a part-time option, usually for people who are working and want to study part-time, but it's the same qualification. So if this is of interest to someone, this person may also want to look at that. But as I said, also in our class statistics, we very much have a wide range of people in our MSc. So this really ranges from quite, let's say, people with only a few years, all the way to people with several years of experience. And ultimately, it's the question how does this MSc fit into your career path? So if you feel you would benefit from this, for example, in terms of getting promoted or getting additional knowledge in an area that you currently maybe don't have a specialization in. So maybe you've been working for 15 years in marketing and now you want a specialization in supply chain. Absolutely. I mean, it's a great way to branch out and get additional knowledge.
Excellent, thanks. Following on from one of the questions earlier about, I think somebody's asked if there's any exemptions available for people that have got previous qualifications from things like CILT or CIPS.
Or whether all the modules, you still have to take all the modules. So we don't cross credit as such. So you will have to take the modules as they are, as I described them.
Okay, thanks. And I think probably just to try and draw things to a close, a couple more questions that have been asked here. One is around what's the situation regarding COVID? Will sessions be delivered online or face-to-face? And somebody else is just asking about the application deadlines.
Okay, so first of all, the application deadlines, of course, you can find on the website, on the Cranfield website. There's a few differences between different nationalities, so UK and other nationalities. So check that out. Maybe we can put the link into the chat as well, Graham or Alexis. We probably have that regarding the deadlines. Now, what was the first part of the question again?
It was about how we'll be teaching sessions because of
the teaching. Yes. So I mean, we have very much made a complete switch again, because we were in lockdown, of course, for large parts of 2021, sort of the beginning of 2021. But since since the UK has opened up again very much at the moment, and currently we are delivering everything face-to-face. Now, there are some sessions which we are delivering online. For example, if we get an external speaker in, right they're somewhere internationally or also within the UK, and they can't come in person, then, for example, those sessions are done online. A few modules are also run, certain sessions are run online because of, like, for example, if we do group work online, and quite simple, sometimes it's easier facilitated in an online environment than in a lecture theater. But the vast majority of lectures are delivered in face-to-face format.
Thanks, Hendrik. That's great. I'm just seeing if there's any kind of major questions that I've missed. I mean, I think some of the questions, probably the best answer is really have a look at the website. There's some questions there about the structure of the modules and things like that. Just seeing a couple more questions come in, see if we can cover those. Are the job opportunities for a fresher engineering graduate who would do MSc course after bachelor's? What is the situation due to Brexit?
Oh, sort of job opportunities in the UK. I mean, maybe Alexis also wants to comment on that, but generally I would say that Brexit, maybe for international candidates wanting to get into the UK job market, maybe Brexit has made it somewhat easier almost. I think there's actually no reluctance on from companies if they need qualified people. And from my experience, at least, or especially this year, this current cohort of students that have finished, my experience is that companies are very much interested to attract the right people, and there's a shortage of well-qualified supply chain professionals currently, well, in the UK, but also internationally. And hence, I think job prospects are very, very good in our area, and also potentially a great opportunity to get into the UK job market, which is now you can also apply for the after study work visa, right, which allows you to remain in the UK for 2 years and seek job opportunities. And of course, this is what students have made use of already now, and quite successfully so. So already found something. So we've had actually quite a few very great success stories this year, Janis, didn't we? With people finding positions. So very encouraging, I think.
Yes, and actually you're going to see a lot of these interventions from our students on our website. I know that they have been recording messages, a couple of them. So you're going to see them on our website.
Thank you both. Yeah, and I've just popped the link back into the website on the chat there for anybody who wants to get it. We'll just perhaps try and take one more question. See, Ko, you've got your hand up waiting patiently. I'm not sure if you want to come off mute and ask your question. Give it a go anyway. And we can't hear you, Ko. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't hear you. Oh, there we go. Try now. Yep.
Okay. My name is Coach. I'm an applicant for Master of Science. I'm from South Sudan. I was just requesting because I joined late. I don't know how far you guys have gone, and sorry for delay because of time zone. So I wasn't aware of what time exactly the meeting was. So is it possible to make an introduction a little bit?
I think probably the best thing to do is this session's been recorded, so my suggestion would be watch out for the email because the recording will be sent out to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem, no problem. And sorry, one last question sneaked in, but I think we'll probably have to call it after this question. But the question I think is probably for Alexis as well here is, can people take up part-time jobs while studying?
Yeah, that's absolutely possible for people to work part-time. The only thing we would ask you to bear in mind is how you might balance your study requirements and working. But you know, many students do manage to do both. In terms of our CRM Simplicity that I mentioned, we don't tend to advertise part-time jobs there. Really, that's for sort of postgraduate career moves. But there are often part-time roles on campus, whether that's sort of cleaning roles or working in the bars that are available. And once you come here, we can show you some recruitment portals that you can use that are specifically designed for students looking for part-time work. We're also, of course, very close to Milton Keynes, which is sort of a medium-sized city, lots of retail there. So I'm sure there are part-time roles available. The main thing to think about is obviously balancing your studies with work.
Also, of course, logistics related jobs. So, I mean, a lot of warehouses, so a lot of warehousing related jobs here. Of course, you know, those would be primarily operational staff, but as a part-time work, but still interesting, I think, to do something logistics related.
Okay, thanks everybody. So we've run slightly over, so apologies for that, but hopefully you've got plenty out of the session today. As I mentioned, the session has been recorded, so you will get access back to that again. And I think the best thing to do is, if you have further questions that we haven't been able to answer today, is to drop us a line and get in touch with us, and hopefully we can get those answers to you as soon as possible. So thanks everybody for your time today. Thanks to Yanis and to Henrik and Alexis, and take care everybody, and I hope to see you at Cranfield soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Hendrix. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.